We are so glad that you are here. You know, for many of us, December brings a time of joy and connection with our family. But for some of us, family dynamics can be kind of tricky at the holidays. So if you're not looking forward to sitting around the dinner table with your family, trust me, you're not alone. But today we're going to tackle this topic, and we're going to look at how we can have more peace, set healthy boundaries, and ultimately more joy. So come and join us.
Hey, thanks so much, everybody, for being here. Today, we're going to talk about navigating some difficult family dynamics during the holidays. And so why don't we start by introducing ourselves?
I'm Abby.
My name's Kim. I'm Maylee.
And my name is Justin. So grateful for you guys. Glad that we get a chance to be here and to talk a little bit about that. And so when you think about the upcoming holidays, like this Christmas and we got Thanksgiving, all the things that are coming up, it's a big time for family. What do you feel, or do you feel more excited or do you feel more anxious?
Honestly, for me, it kind of just depends on which side of my family I'm talking about. So with one side of my family, there's a lot of excitement and joy that comes with the holidays. And then with the other side, there's a lot of anxiety. And I feel like because of that, I have a lot of guilt, which brings more anxiety for me.
I really only celebrate with one side of my family, and the best answer I could come up with was I'm ready to get it over and done with. I think that's more probably my anxiety than anything, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Is it, so we hear guilt, and I feel like we hear that a lot when we think about hanging out with family, and when we feel anxious or we feel some kind of way about it, we feel guilty a little bit about that. Can you kind of help us understand a little bit about that to maybe help some people who are watching or listening to this? Like, because there's probably people all over the place like, I feel guilty too. Like, how do you kind of work through that?
I think for me, I have to release those expectations of like, because my relationships are different, it's okay for me to have different emotions about going into these family gatherings. And it's okay for me to separate, like the family members that I don't have traumatic relationships with from those that I do have traumatic relationships with. And so kind of learning to compartmentalize a little bit helps relieve some of that guilt for me.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I think part of my guilt would be from, well, they're my family, so I feel like I should be looking forward to see them and hang out with them and be around them.
Yeah.
But we're getting there, but it's hard.
Sure.
So.
Exactly. Because family should be the safest people, the people that have known us the longest, known us, we think the best.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's not always the case, and there is a lot of just unmet expectations, I think, that can be hurtful, and that leads to guilt when you're like, why am I feeling this way when they should be this, So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think sometimes two things can exist at one time. And sometimes that's hard too. Right. Like there is that, hey, things are getting better. Or, there is probably some things that we're like, hey, we look forward to it, but I also feel a little anxious about it. And I think that's kind of where I sit sometimes in some of my family dynamics is there's things I do look forward to. There's people I do really look forward to seeing. And there's also things where I'm just like, man, like, I don't know how this is going to turn out. And I feel some of that guilt too. So I appreciate you sharing that, both of you guys, because that's a very real thing that I think people experience on a regular basis when it comes to family.
I think it's interesting too, because it's the same feeling, but it's two different situations, if you know what I mean. Like, you're guilty for feeling like excited to see one side and not the other. Whereas like, I'm feeling guilty because I'm not excited at all. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like you feel, correct me if I'm wrong, but you feel like guilty for maybe not being as close with one side or the other, or maybe not playing favorites. I use that word very loosely, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is 100% the case. And like you said, Justin, like, I think we feel like we have to pick like, oh, we're excited or we're anxious. And it's okay for those things to coexist. And like, God isn't confused by or overwhelmed by like our complex emotions. Like he literally created us to be that way. And so I think that it's important for us to be okay with having more than one feeling at a time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's a mature way of thinking about it, because we live in a world of absolutes sometimes where people are, hey, you have to either be this or you're this. And sometimes it's like, I'm both.
Right.
Like, you know, and it's sometimes.
Or I'm neither.
Yeah. Or I'm neither.
Right.
Yes. And maybe that brings some guilt too sometimes, because we feel like, man, if I'm not feeling this way, then what's wrong? You know?
Well,
and I think we can normalize that both can be a thing. So appreciate you guys. Yeah.
I think there's this expectation that at Christmas time, that all of the hurt that may have happened over the past year is supposed to just be forgotten, you know, and you're supposed to be able to go and spend, you know, all this time with people that have maybe, you know, been hurtful or offensive. And so, yeah, I mean, it's unrealistic just to think you can just lay all that aside and go and have a good time, you know, hanging out with people that you feel like maybe, you know, don't approve of you or that you haven't really connected with through the whole year.
So kind of in that same vein, thinking about that, what family tension tends to surface for you during the holidays? That's a tough question.
I feel like you and I are going to have the same one this year.
I absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So we both lost to grandparents this year. And I don't know about you, but for me, my grandpa was like the glue of our family. And it has already been very evident that that's like causing separation. So that's going to be really hard, I feel like, to try to, just that emptiness and that void.
100%. And I saw that on both sides of my family within the last year. And so like for me, like my dad's dad, we lost him last November. And like he was the reason that I connected with that part of my family. And so I would agree, there's like that void and it just kind of feels like drifting a little bit. And that brings about a lot of awkwardness, and because that's the person that you were connecting with. And so when you don't have that, then you're just kind of sitting there and you feel like a stranger in that space, kind of.
It's like your lifeboat, you know, like if all else fails, I can go to my grandpa and it's fine, you know, like,
Yeah. It's kind of like we can be surrounded by people sometimes and still feel kind of lonely.
Sure.
And sometimes that can be in our family homes or within our families during the holidays, is that we can be surrounded by people and we can even care about them a lot. But sometimes it can feel very lonely, especially if somebody you guys are saying is like kind of the glue of it was this is the person that everybody connected with during Christmas, especially you guys connecting with your grandparents. And for them to kind of be gone, it's going to make things a little different. Yeah. Okay.
I think holidays are one of the most vulnerable times. And so then when you're putting yourself in a situation where it's not just all of these awkward tensions are arising, but it's also grief of like people who aren't here or what should have been, and you add that layer on top of it, then it can be really hard, or it can feel really hard to maintain those boundaries that you know are healthy.
Yeah. How do you, well, okay. I love the thought of that, because there's people, we talk a lot about boundaries when we sit in rooms with people and we counsel and we talk and we encourage people. We're like, hey, it's okay to have healthy boundaries. When we go into family functions, how do we do that? Like, how would we encourage a person to kind of keep some of those?
One of my biggest struggles with going to family functions is I feel like I have to shrink to fit their idea of me. I feel like I have made a lot of growth mostly on my own the last like 3, 4, 5 years. And every time that I get back into that, like, you know, family event situation, it almost is like my brain tricks myself into thinking how it was when I was a kid, where it's like, I'm the child, they're the adult, and the rules are still the same.
Sure.
Whereas it's like an adult and an adult. Like we can have adult conversations, we can have adult feelings, and we can handle them in adult ways. Versus like almost being talked down to or belittled, or like your growth and progress has been dismissed.
Yeah.
You know,
or
like
because it doesn't look the way that you don't look the way that they want you to look. So maybe you're not married, or you don't have kids, or you, whatever, like, because families have this idea of who you should have been. And
you're still like the child almost in their eyes, if that makes sense. And that's really hard.
Yeah. And that's where just like knowing who you are in Christ and that confidence that comes from, that self-esteem that comes from him, to Jesus, you are, the most loved, most precious, and he's giving you everything, and so he's enough for you that you don't need our earthly family to fill that void. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So and that comes just, I think, as we grow our roots deeper in Jesus, we become more confident in who we are in him. And then we can put that boundary up when we see the red flag that, oh, you're starting to treat me like a child. We can respond in a loving way, but also put a boundary down.
Yeah.
This is a line we don't cross. And, we're not putting up a wall, right? We want to keep communication open, but we're putting up a fence and saying you can't go past that part. This is who I am. Respect me as an adult. I love you. I am here, but let's change the subject. Let's move on to something different, because I don't think we're going to agree on where this is leading. So,
and one of the biggest things that I feel like I've learned about boundaries that you taught me is that boundaries are not meant to be hurtful. They're meant to be loving. And so the way that you put them into place and the way you execute them is just as important as having them there. But somebody who doesn't respect or understand why you have boundaries, it shows you why you do have boundaries.
Right. Yeah.
A huge thing too behind boundaries is your mindset behind them, because if you set them thinking it doesn't even matter, like this isn't going to work, or I'm going to set these, but they're going to push and I'm just going to let them, and it's not even, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your mindset is a huge thing. Adam told me one day, and I think he's preached about it too, the catch it, challenge it, change it mindset. And I think my biggest problems is that I have this like one-sided view where it's like, well, I don't want this to happen and I don't want to let her do this or him do this or like whatever. But then if it's me and roles are reversed, it's okay. It's okay for me to do this and it's okay. And like, how's that fair? Right. So almost kind of like putting my pride and my ego, or just putting myself to the side and putting myself in their shoes too.
That's good. That's the
because I'm not the only one. I know that I'm not the only one that feels it at the holidays. So like, I know that they are feeling it too. And no matter how hard they try to hide it or whatever way they'd show it, even if it comes off as rude or whatever, like I know they're feeling the same way, or they're feeling some type of way that probably isn't how they want to be feeling either.
Right. Yeah.
What an amazing way to go into it, to be honest. Like when we're looking at it from other people's perspective, even if it's a thing where we're looking at from a person who's going to push us in a way that maybe we're not even comfortable with, but we're like, hey, like I want them to respect me, but in order to get that, I have to also
respect them too.
Right.
It's not fair for me to expect them to do that, but then it's okay for me to not.
Yeah, I think it's great.
And I think we can also make the choice to not be offended, even if we don't see growth in that person yet, right? We can go into it realizing, no matter what, I can let that go and just keep praying for them, keep hoping, that there someday there will be reconciliation, but it's really, it's my expectation is for how I'm going to respond and behave, not for how they are going to respond and behave, because I can't control that.
Yeah.
I have no control over what another person's going to say or do. So I know what I'm going to say or do before I even get into the situation.
Yeah. And then just pray for redemption, right? Because we have a God that redeems.
Yep.
And sometimes it's not in our timing, right? Like it's not what we sometimes, but he will, and he does, and he does it a lot. So I think that's awesome. Kim, you said something, and I'd love for you to build on it a little bit, explain again to us. You mentioned, hey, don't build walls. But put boundaries. And I like that because a lot of times when we think boundaries, we just go wall, right? Like, and we don't even think, and we're just, and not even on purpose, like, right? But we're like, because we sometimes put those protective measures up and sometimes we just go a little far. So can you kind of explain a little bit about what you would consider to be a wall versus a boundary?
I think it actually probably came from Dr. Cloud's book, Henry Cloud and John Townsend, the Boundaries book. I think the example is, that a boundary is like a picket fence. It's not like a full-blown privacy fence wall. You can still see your neighbor. You still can interact with your neighbor, but the fence is there to protect your space, right? And the only people that come through that fence is the people that you invite in. But you can still, interact and have contact with people outside of your yard, but it just is like declaring this kind of safe zone for yourself in your own space. So that's where, in my mind, I think picket fence, not a wall, that we still want to have a line of sight, a line of communication with the other people. We're not totally cutting them out, but we are protecting ourselves for the sake of peace, right? Especially at the holidays. And that's okay. That's healthy. That's healthy. We wouldn't let just anybody into our yard. So why do we let just anybody into our head? We can put up a fence instead of a wall.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The light bulb literally just went off for me when you said in your head, because I mean, that's what it is. Like, even if you don't display it, it's all like internal, like an internal monologue battle going on in your head the whole time.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
So when we have those things, we have those monologues, we have stuff that we're building up as we're going in. One thing, like, how do we prepare our hearts before walking in to some of these situations that we're talking about? How do we do that?
I have like a variety of things that I do around the holidays that kind of help me prepare my heart. One thing, and it may sound so silly or simple, but it might be as easy as I lay down and take a nap before I go to a family function, or I put on my favorite outfit, or I
look good, feel good.
Yes, or I pick up like a coffee, like just something that really puts me in a good headspace and that I know is filling my cup. That way I'm not going in empty. But I think also realizing that the holidays are a time to reflect on God's goodness. And with that comes looking back at all the times that I failed God and that I let him down and I didn't meet his expectations. And here he is extending grace to me, inviting me into this beautiful time. And so while, yes, I can maintain those boundaries and I can have them and they're important, I can also say, well, if God's forgiven me for that, then I should be able to forgive the people in my life for the way that they've failed me. And that doesn't mean forgetting what they've done, because I think there's a difference, but having it and releasing it doesn't necessarily mean that you're eliminating the consequences.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'm very emotionally leading when it comes to situations, words, feelings, anything like that. And so I have to be very intentional about grounding myself before I go into a family dinner. I get these like blinders on and I can't see past what's happening in front of me. I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I feel like what's happening then is like the end of the world and I'm never going to get over it and this is going to hurt me forever, and like, or I just can't drop it and I get overwhelmed. So being really intentional about just like telling myself what's real, what's reality, like, and it's okay. And like also giving myself space, like if I need to go outside and take a breath or get some fresh air or walk away or go do the dishes, like something that I can physically do to like bring myself back to like, I'm here, I'm safe, I'm okay. Like I can get through this hour. Like an hour in the grand scheme of a week or life or whatever is like not the end of the world. It's not a big deal.
Right. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
We have recently, I've talked to Ken a little bit about this. I've had some pretty weird shifts in some of my family dynamics. And one of my biggest tendencies is always a sweep under the rug kind of thing. I've always been the type of person like, well, whatever. It is what it is kind of vibes sometimes, which is not super healthy, right? Like it's very much a thing where, and I know it's not. I know it's been a thing. And so this holiday season, I know that we've had some buildup of some things. I'm like, okay, like I'm going to have to really release a whole lot of this to God. I have to go into it with, God, you got me. God, you got me. And I've gotten to where I'm trying my best to not sweep it under the rug, but trying to talk to God about it, because I feel as if, hey, like if I'm having conversations sometimes with somebody else about it, I find myself venting sometimes, which venting is not always healthy, right? That's not sometimes a healthy thing. And so I'm like, okay, I got to go to God about it. I got to try to give as much of this to him as possible, to try and navigate this in a way, not sweep it under the rug because I can't forget about it. I don't want to do that because then it builds up and it becomes something it shouldn't. But I have to try to release some of that. Kind of leads me into this next question I want to ask you guys is like, what is a boundary or an expectation that you can release this holiday season to protect your peace?
Mine is just that I'm going to go in there and be perfect and have it all figured out and put on a great face and pretend like nothing, you know what I mean? Like pretend like I'm not hurting or that I'm not nervous or anxious about whatever could happen during the whole time we're together. I just need to let that go and kind of whatever happens, but with the mindset of whatever happens, but I am not going to be disrespected and I am not going to let them walk all over me, and I'm going to stand my ground and be in a healthy, respectful way, of course, too.
Yeah, sure.
But not just thinking it's all going to go fine, because it's probably not, to be honest.
Sure. And I think just also to asking Jesus or the Holy Spirit to not let yourself see you as the child anymore. See you as you really are the whole time you're in there. You know what I mean? That no, I am me. I am mature now. I have roots. I'm standing on Jesus. I don't have to feel like that person anymore. I don't have to feel small. Yeah. Because I'm not small. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. That's
you
good,
said
though.
something I really appreciate too, is that oftentimes hurt people, yes. Right? And so if somebody attacks us or does something that we feel, hey, that was disrespectful, our gut reaction is, well, let me get one over on you and do it even more or whatever. Hurt people. But you were talking about it from the angle of, hey, even if somebody comes at me, I'm going to stay my ground, but I'm going to be respectful about it at the same time. That's a challenge.
Yeah.
It's hard to do.
It is hard to do.
Yeah.
But it can totally shift the atmosphere
of the
situation.
100%.
Yeah.
It could change that hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just for you, but for every single person in the space, which is that's a powerful thing too. That's God working in some of those moments too.
Yes.
That's you.
For me, I think my biggest expectation that I have is reconciliation. And one thing that I've had to learn very well this year is that there's a difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. And my part is to forgive, but that doesn't mean that my part is to reconcile. And sometimes reconciliation for a relationship just simply isn't the best thing for that relationship. And so I can go in and I can maintain my boundaries and be respectful and be present, but that doesn't mean that I have to go in and share every detail of my life or invite those people in when I'm not comfortable doing that. And I feel like it's going to be used against me in the future. And that's something, like Justin said, that I have to talk to God about a lot, because it can be so difficult for me to get caught up in the fact that I've forgiven them. Why is this not better? And the accountability has to be taken on their part for reconciliation.
It's
to
out
happen.
of your control. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which that has absolutely nothing to do with you and everything to do with them.
Yeah.
You can't do it for them.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, let me ask you guys this as we get ready to close out here. What is something that encourages you, or something you could say that would encourage other people, or in all of each other as we go into these moments? What is something that you need to hear, maybe, or something that you think other people might benefit from?
Abby, I was thinking a lot about this while you were talking, but just understanding that the people that you're entering these situations with don't see completely and wholly who you are. And even if they are family, that doesn't mean that they're seeing all these little moments of growth and inspiration and creativity and love and care that you're providing to yourself and to other people. So they only see a small part of you. And so you can't, yes, in a way, their opinion and their commentary should have weight, but don't let it completely throw you off track to what you believe God is calling you to do. And just I think it's important, especially during the holidays, to understand that we only see a small portion of everybody. And so, just staying steadfast. And that was something that I was thinking about while you were talking.
I really like that. That is a really good point, because I do only see the parts that I allow them to and allow them in.
Yeah.
I forget what the question was. I'm so sorry.
Sure, no. So what are some words that would encourage others, encourage you, maybe encourage each other here?
I would say for me, my family like going into this year, I am nervous, but I'm a little bit more hopeful or less nervous because like I feel like the work has been put in and we're in places that I never really thought I would ever be back in, if that makes sense. Like I didn't think that I would be seeing my dad for like Thanksgiving or that I would be, you know, sitting at a table with my mom and like happy she's there. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that just the encouragement that there is hope, even like in the moment, it may not feel like it, or you may not be able to ever see a time where that's like sustainable, but God can do literally anything. And it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's true.
And I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
And in his own time, like, because I mean, it's been years and, you know, it's easy to get discouraged or like feel like it may never happen. And it may be 3 or 4 or 5 more years before I'm fully comfortable even sitting at the table. You know what I mean? Or,
but he's still working.
Yes. Yeah.
So the story of the prodigal son keeps coming to my mind, not because I consider you guys prodigals, but I think that scripture from that story, you know, Jesus told that. I think that shows us that he understands family dynamics, that there is sometimes this division between family members. And I think, I don't know, I just find that very encouraging that he can relate to that. And, you know, even when Jesus was dying on the cross, you know, what did he say? He said, my God, why have you forsaken me? So there was like that human cry of disappointment to a father, you know, like it's something that is not foreign to our God. And, you know, he is a perfect Heavenly Father. And I'm so thankful that he does love us so perfectly and he's always there to listen. He also disciplines us because he loves us. And that side is the side that we also don't like to think about, but that is part of, you know, him loving us well. And so I think all of these relationships that as we navigate, you know, sometimes family, we have friends that are more like family than family. And those are the most challenging ones for a lot of us. But I think we learn so much through the process of, you know, restoring and reconciling those relationships. And he never, ever wants us to give up on those, you know, especially if the person is far from God, because we literally could be the person that leads them to Jesus, right? Like, so how cool is that, you know? Yeah. So anyways, I appreciate you guys sharing today about this. I know it's not an easy thing. It's not something we all like to talk about, but I'm glad we can talk about real things together. So, yeah. Justin, will you pray us out?
I will. God, as we are closing up here, there are people who are navigating very real certain things in their family dynamics, whether that's parents or siblings or aunts, uncles, or extended, or even friendships. There's relationships, and relationships are hard. And some of these situations seem so big, but God, one thing that we have assurance of is that none of it's too big for you. And you are a God who does very, very big things, and you can step in, you can redeem, and you do, and you're still a God of miracles. You're still a God who is working, and you're a Father that is very present. And those are all things that we can find hope in. And so thank you so much, God, for your word. Thank you for your Son. And it's in his name we pray. Amen.